I'm Sandy Peterson,
And I'm Lincoln Peterson.
and we're going to show you how to play Evil High Priest. First, let's talk about setup. To set up, you get your priest board, you get your in a Sanctum, you take the town board, put it within easy reach of all the players, you put the ritual track face down because it doesn't unlock yet, and you put resources within easy reach. Every cult board is its own special snowflake, so you take your elder signs and place them on the 13 elder sign slots on the cult board. Cthulhu's cult board also requires that you place a deep one marker on the deep one track and the Shoggoth card and the Shoggoth pin. Finally, on your own areas, you pick who you take your cult leader, your priest, and 2 cultists and put them in your cult pool. Then you take 4 more cultists and you put them locked away in the asylum by the forces of society. You can't get at them yet. Take the investigator track, put it on the 0 marker, and then we decide who the first player is. I'm going to take it because why not? And here I am, first player. That means I begin with 1 treasure in my exposed resources. Lincoln, who is second player, would have 2 treasure, third player would have 3, and so forth. We take our chambers and lay them out 3 chambers here on the card mat, and then we take monsters. In this case, we're using the basic core game, so all the monsters are identical, but we lay them out anyway. And if you're using investigators, they would lay out at the top. This is the game setup.
So now we're going to talk about what ends the game. So, because learning how to end the game and what makes you win is the part you need to focus on and know about. So, once all 13 elder signs are taken off of the cult board, that immediately ends the game. Then you decide who wins by knowing how many victory points they have. Now, victory points are decided by each elder sign you have is 10 victory points. Each spell book is 5 victory points. Each magic is worth 2. Each blood is worth 1. And cash is worth 0, or treasure is worth 0, except for whoever has the most treasure gets 5 victory points. Monsters and cultists and anything else is worth 0 victory points at the end of the game. Now we're going to talk about the different phases of the game. So on your turn, normally what you would do is you would take one of your guys and you can put him on a site. The sites are these little arches right here. So to go on a site, you just have to go there and you have to be able to pay the cost if there is one, and then you receive a reward immediately and you put it into your sanctum.
So in this case, Lincoln went to Boston. He would get a treasure and a blood. I'm going to take my cultist and put him here in Innsmouth, and I get 2 blood.
Now there is a skulk spot, and this spot is unique in that when you go there, it happens at the end. So once everyone is done, and there's someone on the skulk, what happens is he gets to use any other action space, even if there's someone on it. So, for instance, if Dad wanted to go and do this spot, you want to go to Silver Twilight Lodge, even though he's already there, he gets to do it because this is a skulk at the end of the turn. The only place you can't skulk is Providence, because that's where you get the first player marker, and you can't take the first player marker.
You can skulk to a spot that no one's gone to, but it's kind of pointless, because the purpose of skulking is to let you double up on a slot. And the disadvantage of skulking is you don't get your rewards till the end of the phase. Whereas when I went here to get my 2 blood, you saw I got them immediately, so I can spend them later on some action. So that's typically better. Skulking is like your fallback plan.
So that's the action phase. Then the preparation phase starts. So in the preparation phase, we get all of our guys back into our cultist pool that were placed onto any boards. And any guys in the escape, if we had rescued anyone from our asylum, also goes to the cultist pool. Now we can rearrange resources among our chambers if we have any chambers, which we don't yet, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Let's talk about the different boards. We just talked about the town board. That's one of the most commonly used boards in the game. We'll talk about the cult board and the cult board in a minute. We also have the player board. Now the player board is unusual because only the priest can go to the player board. Now the priest can go to any board, but only the priest can go here. And his areas are chanting, which gives you new chambers for your sanctum. Rescue Acolyte, which lets you break a guy out of the asylum, in which case he goes here to escape, not to your active pool. And Summon Monster, which you can't unlock until there's been an investigator raid.
Okay, so let's talk about the ritual board. So the ritual board unlocks once the first investigator raid has happened. We'll explain more about it.
Just like the monsters.
Just like the monsters on the Summon Monster spot. So on the ritual board, unlike the town board, when you go there, you still have to pay a cost. They all cost 2 treasure. And then at the end of the turn, what happens, instead of them coming back to your cultist pool like the town board or the cult board, they move along the ritual track. So for Culture Awakening, we pay 2 cash, and then at the end of the turn, during the preparation phase, they move along. Then they immediately get the resource. For this, it's a spellbook. So I take it and I put it in my Sanctum. Then they don't come back. They don't come back until the end of the next turn preparation phase when they would have moved. Instead, now they come back to your cultist.
So, for example, if during that next action phase I had put one of my cultists here, then during the next preparation phase, he would come back and he would advance there and get the reward. So you can have like a chain of people moving down the track.
You can still only have one guy on a spot at a time, but you can be on the previous spot on a ritual.
In this ritual, you can have 4 guys because it's a long ritual. The rituals generally give you way better rewards, but at the cost of locking up a cultist for 2 turns.
Okay, let's talk about the cult board. So, like we said earlier, you have to destroy all 13 Elder Signs for the game to end. So, to destroy an Elder Sign, you take one of your cultists and you put it onto the start. Because this is the first one, you have to start with the start. And you pay 2 magic and you destroy the Elder Sign and you gain it as a resource in your Sanctum. Then, if there's a site attached to the Elder Sign, you can then choose to do the site by paying its cost and receiving its reward. In this case, 2 blood for a cultist.
Again, he goes in the escape.
Now, once this is destroyed, other people can now destroy other Elder Signs via the lines and gain those rewards and those things. If there is a...
So, for example, leave my guy there.
Yeah. So now it's my turn. If I want to, I could destroy this one for a spellbook. So, I spend my spellbook, and I go here, and I destroy this, and then the things happen right here. So for this one, Deep One track goes up 1. Then I gain this Elder Sign. Then there's an Investigator Raid. Each pistol symbol is a D6 Investigator Raid. Okay, just so everyone. So this is 1, this is 2d6, and down here 3d6.
Now, the Investigator Raid things don't have an attached site that you can use later on. Now, after the first turn, when I've taken this, after we go to the preparation phase and our guys all come back, then anyone can go there and use that site again. But they can never reuse this one because it doesn't have a site. And you never have to unlock the Elder Sign again, obviously. So it's gone.
From then on, eventually, the left-hand side of this site, of this Elder Sign, is just gone. You just only use the right-hand side for the rest of the game.
And since this doesn't have a right-hand side, you just won't...
You can't go there.
It's just a one-time thing. It does the attack.
So let's talk about our Sanctum. Now, in your Sanctum, you have different areas. You have the exposed resources, and you have spots where you can put chambers. Okay? And then here we have Investigator Track and your Asylum. So, whenever you gain a chamber, you pick one of the 3 that are right here, and you put it on any of your spots that you can put. So, for instance, we'll put this spike trap at the very beginning. And then, let's say later on, during more turns, I got another chamber. I can then put it in any spot, except for this one. So I could put it down here, for instance. Okay.
You can't rearrange them once they're placed, unless it's completely filled, which rarely happens.
Now, whenever you place a chamber, any resources you have in any of your chambers or in the exposed, you can then rearrange among your things. So let's talk about chambers. So in your chamber, you have 2. Let's go to this one. You have 2 symbols usually. You have a defense, which looks like a little spike trap, and then you have white circles, which indicates any resource. So when you place it, you can then put 3 things in this room, and it has a defense value of 1 when investigators try to enter it.
Here's an example of a trap which can only hold blood, but has a defense of 3.
Yeah. So let's talk about investigator raids. So we just unlocked this Elder Sign. So
I'm set up here for a raid.
Okay, let's use yours. So I roll the die, woo, and I'm going to cheat and make it be a 6. Ah! So the first thing that happens is all the guys in your asylum and on your escape subtract 1 from the investigator raid strength. So since we have 3, it goes down 3. 2 in the asylum, 1 in the escape.
These guys don't block it.
Guys on the in your cultist pool or on the board don't subtract yet, but you can spend them to subtract both. All right. So first off, that's how much go down. Now, at any point during any of the investigator raid, you can choose to spend cultist from the cultist pool or on any of the boards, or you can spend monsters. Cultists, when you spend them on the board, they go back to your asylum, and they count for -2 attack strength. So if I wanted to spend 2 more cultists and go back to the asylum, that would end the attack because they're 2 each.
But I've lost 2 cultists, so I wouldn't want to do that probably.
Now, if you had a monster, this one's worth 5 up here. You can see the defense. And you spend that, and then it would go down to 3, and I would lose my monster.
Because the monster was top 5 worth. I don't have a monster, so I can't do that. I don't want to spend my cultists, so I'm just going to take the attack and see how my chambers do.
So, here's what I have. First, they go to your exposed resources, and all your resources there get destroyed. Then, they start walking through your chambers. And that's actually like this. Alright, so first, it goes here to the vault, and it goes down by 2 via the defense. Boop, boop. Then it destroys all the resources in the vault.
Because it still has points left.
So this 2 treasure is destroyed. Then it goes to the next room. So if there's any ones that are don't have a chamber, it just skips over that spot and goes to the next chamber that's available. So we go to the next vault, and it subtracts 2 more, goes down to 0. It doesn't get through
because my defense stopped the last point.
So this is saved. Now let's say we had 2 left when we were going into this room. It goes down to 0. It would still be safe because there's 0, and 0 attack can't destroy any resources.
But if it had 1 left, it would destroy there, then go on to the next chamber, which actually has a 0, and I'd lose everything there, including my Elder Sign, so then I'd be sad and I'd cry.
That's right. And that's how investigator raids work. And that's the core game.
So, if you have purchased the Blood Ceremony expansion or the Dark Rituals expansion, there's more stuff. The most notable of which is new cult boards. For example, here is the Chocho board. You notice it has 2 starts and these 4 mysterious areas that you can't get to from the arrows. So we'll learn about those later on. Or you can have the Crawling Chaos board. It only has 1 start area, but the area is kind of divided into these weird 3 areas. And there's the avatars you can tap and an Azathoth thing. And every cult board is like a new experience and plays very, very differently. Also in these expansions, we have monster cards. So instead of the generic monsters, which you saw we had here, just our little deep ones that do block 5 damage, you have monsters with special abilities. So for example, here is the Proto-Shoggoth. When you take a Proto-Shoggoth, you can pay a blood and get a cultist, because he was really a Proto-Shoggoth all along. And he also blocks 5, so he's just a fabulous monster. Other monsters can do things like capture other people's cultists, or you can discard them to steal spell books, or all kinds of things. There's a huge variety of those. Next, there is unique investigators. Instead of just rolling dice for the investigator strength, well, you still roll dice for their strength, but you also have unique investigators. For example, here's the parapsychologist. Well, he's kind of a complicated one. I want to do a simple one for this. The sleuth. All players add up victory points really quickly. Adding victory points, by the way, is really quick in the game. It's like a 30-second process. The player with the most victory points adds 3 to their raid strength. So in that last attack, when Lincoln rolled a 6 for his raid strength, if I were the guy with the most victory points, it would be a 9 against me, and it would have blown through all my defenses. So that would be a scary guy for me. So there's unique investigators. And finally, there's unique priests. And at the start of the game, you typically randomly a unique priest. So here I've taken Zelda Lorraine.
And I'm Carl Stanford.
Woohoo! And he goes here on this slot in your priest sanctum. And this is an ability that is unique to you, and you can use it 1 time during the entire game. You can take your priest, like any other slot on your space, go there, use that ability. So in this case, Zelda Lorraine, I have to have a spell book, but I don't spend it. When I go to Zelda Lorraine, every other player loses a cultist, goes back to the asylum, and I get a cultist breaking out of the asylum. What does Carl Stanford do? I hope something really wonderful.
He's awesome. So what he does is that when you have to own an Elder Sign, then you go there and you get a free spellbook.
So the requirement in the case of Carl Stanford and Zelda Lorraine are that they have such fabulous abilities that you don't want to have the players do it too early. This makes you plan ahead for it. But there's others that you can get right away. For example,
Headman, you just get 4 blood when you go there.
Once during the game, you get an influx of 4 blood. These add a lot more strategy and variety to the game. You can play with them or without them. We like to play with them, and you'll be seeing us add these in our playthroughs later on during the course of these videos. Thank you for watching.